calm strength, strategic thinking, and ability to lead with both confidence and compassion. Welcome, Betsy, to our show. I'm excited to have you here
Thank,
today.
thank you.
Next, we're joined by Gina Sander, Vice President and Regional Manager of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices California Properties. Gina is a powerhouse who blends sharp business insight with a deep and genuine commitment to her team. Gina, great to have you as well.
Great to be here.
And finally, we have Tally Tiffany, who's the Director of Legal Operations at Home Services of America. Tally brings clarity and wisdom into every room she enters. Little but powerhouse, her leadership style is steady, smart, and boldly impactful. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And I'm so excited to have you all here today. And one of the things that I love about the work that we do in real estate is finding out how you all got into the business because it's usually, by choice, it's by chance. And so, what inspired you to get into this real estate world, and also keep you in the passion and keep you in it today because it's a tough business, as we all know, and there's always change and there's a lot happening. So I'm going to start this question with you, Gina. Tell me a little bit about your background, how you got into business, and what keeps you motivated.
Well, for me, all forks in my life's road led me to real estate. And my former husband and I started a commercial real estate company together. But after our divorce, obviously, I had to shift to do something different. And so I chose residential real estate and I loved it. I loved the people. I loved walking clients through big decisions in the purchase or sale of their home. I loved the problem solving. I loved it. I loved all of it. It was addicting. And from there, I was tapped on the shoulder by a large brokerage and asked if I would join their leadership team. And this is where it got even more fun for me. And I was recruited again by another brokerage and eventually landed up where I am today. And currently I serve as the Vice President and Regional Manager for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, California Properties, and I have 8 offices and about 700 agents that I oversee here in California.
Oh, that's amazing. That's exciting. So from commercial to residential, which is really great because you're able to kind of have a lot of history and knowledge that you can share with the agents that kind of focus in that area within that footprint.
Absolutely.
Love it. How about you, Tally? How'd you get into the legal operation side, which again, I loved that I learned something new. You're a Georgia girl, my backyard, but also into the real estate side of business.
Yeah, I have a long background in both the legal and real estate side of things, and the ultimate catalyst that moved me into that was the to Gina's point, the feeling I got from taking seemingly complicated, um, unique situations, right, and making them more approachable, easy to understand, and fun. So, really, it was just that sense of uh, helping people through some of the biggest decisions of their life. So that's what brought me into to both fields, actually.
But how did you get to home services? Like, how did you start at home services from Georgia? Because are you from this area originally?
Yeah, so I grew up in the metropolitan area of Atlanta, right? All over. Both of my parents were in residential leasing, and that was my first foray into real estate. And as Metro Atlanta really exploded in the 80s, they were all hands on deck. So when I was probably 5 years old, they started dragging me into the office on weekends to help them file, screen phone calls, things like that, and helped out in the family business for many years. And I thought, gosh, pretty good at these leases, these contracts, right? Maybe I should be a lawyer. So I did that, became an attorney, ultimately was unfulfilled in law firm life and said, I need to get back into real estate. So took what I had learned from the legal profession and put it back into the real estate business and
So
joined a
you
small
actually
brokerage.
you have a family yeah, business. Your parents were in real estate, and that's kind of like the attraction to the real estate side. That's
That's right.
interesting. I did not know that about you, Talia. It's very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool. How about you? How did you get into it?
Well, I'm similar to Tally in that I'm the daughter of a real estate broker. So I grew up, I like to say, in the back seat of her car, delivering contracts and dropping off keys and holding open houses with her. So that's really what brought me. Right out of college, I was a special education teacher. And then after some convincing from my mother, I ended up working with her and worked with her, sold for a little while, and then moved into was tapped into management and then operations, and now here I am. But yeah, so and I think what drove or what really inspired me, my mother, of course, but similar to Tally, like really being able to support people and whether that was as an agent, helping homeowners find their home or um, as a sales leader, helping agents achieve their goals. So it's the support, and that's really keeps me here.
Well, one of the things that I have found that is a pretty unifying message from many of our leaders that are CEOs that have gotten into leadership positions, a lot of them came back from that educational background and also families, members that were generational in real estate. And so they kind of veered off and said, no, I don't want to do real estate because that's what my mom did. It was weekend work. I don't want to do that. I'm going to go into this field or teaching or legal, whatever. But then they came back because they really loved it. So I did not know, Betsy. Wow. So you actually had that also as part of your background, decided to come back. Very cool. I think we need to recruit some teachers, right? Because obviously that's a perfect fit for our business. One of the things that I love about women who lead is I'm able to see such incredible talent within our industry, and I see that you are all bold in what you do. The title Bold Catalyst I thought was perfect for this segment because we are going through a lot of change right now in our industry, especially in our leadership. We are, doing some incredible things. And so what has been something that you've had to do that's been courageous, a decision you've had to make, a real change that you have had to do for yourself or others that you can talk about that took some big things for you to be bold that you might want to share with our audiences? Because sometimes people think it's easy to get to where you are, you didn't have to make those decisions. And it's been kind of scary, right? Uh, so I'll start with you, Betsy. Something like, wow, this is really share a moment that might have taken the wind out of you.
So I will say, I think probably one of the things, there's a lot, right? I mean, when you go through a lot, quite a bit, but one of the things was probably one of the boldest one was leaving my former brokerage that I had been with for a long time, and really shaped a lot of my professional journey. Um, I had been there for almost 16 years, and taking kind of that leap into working for the Abbey Halliday companies. And so that was a pretty, a big change for me. But I also know that I was felt, led to lead in a different way. And that's, that was a big decision and a big change for personally. Obviously, professionally, professionally and personally, but also, going through the whole transition of the pandemic. That was a big, big change, and how we did business. So there were a lot of pieces to that, but you just put one foot in front of the other and keep going, and we're still here. So
Well, and look at where you are now. So switching, were you an agent with in the prior position and did you move into an agent position here? Did this job
So I started out as an agent at my former brokerage and then went into leadership at my former brokerage. And then when I came over to the Abbey Halliday companies, I was a sales leader for a couple of the offices that we have, as well as doing some operations pieces to the business. So
and it gave you just more growth opportunities. So
yes,
just making a
exactly.
leap,
Mhm.
scary, right?
That's right.
New company, new growth, new people, but look at where it has led you. I think that's an incredible accomplishment. Betsy, and obviously the right leader for our company as well. Tally, how about you?
Yeah, I alluded to this a little bit earlier. I was gainfully employed as an attorney at a law firm, and I made the bold decision to step away from that W-2 life and into a 1099, agent role at a brokerage. It was just the law firm life wasn't compatible with the life I wanted to lead at that time. I wanted to start a family. I wanted to have more fun. I didn't want to work for 80 hours a week and make somebody else money. I wanted to work for myself. And so I said, let me just pause. I love real estate. I transitioned into becoming an agent. And from there, it was the missing piece, right? I got to see the whole industry from a new perspective, the agent perspective. And to me, that's shaped everything I've done ever since. And so once I could see it through the agent's eyes, then it became a series of new bold decisions, right? Raising your hand, saying, you know what, I feel good about where things are here. I'm ready for my next challenge, my next opportunity, and just constantly pushing myself to learn, and then leap. So for
God,
me,
that
that
took
was
a lot of nerve too, Tally, because when people don't realize when you've got a steady paycheck and now going to 1099 and hey, you're killing what you eat, it's a big, big leap. But the fact that you did that gives you a lot of credibility, especially when you're working with agents, which is what we do every day in our
that's
roles, is
right.
we're dealing with people's decisions and what we do. I think it really helps you understand what we do a lot better, and those decisions come lightly, right? They don't come lightly.
Exactly.
Thank you for that. Gina, how about you?
Well, my bold or courageous decision was a big transition and a big change for me as far as where I was living and doing and everyone I knew. And I had been offered a couple leadership opportunities to move to Orange County, of all places, from San Diego, all of them, for other brokerages. And the third time this happened, I had to pay attention because it seemed like a nudge from the universe. And it meant leaving everything familiar, my family, my friends, my comfort zone. But that leap led me to where I am today. And that decision created real change that ended up allowing me to eventually step into the position where I am today.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Sometimes that's the hardest thing is moving away from your comfort level, from where you know that everything's normal and taking that leap. But look at, like I said, you look at where you are, right? One thing that I think is really important for us is there are things that sometimes we do have to compromise on, right? Or that we have to nudge or change as we look at our leadership roles. What is one thing that you know as a trait that you value so much that you refuse to change? Say, you know what? No matter what, this is something I'm not going to budge on. And whoever wants to answer this question, just hey, this is a value for me that I feel so strong about that whatever happens, that's it.
I would say for me, it's integrity. That's something I will never compromise. Even when it's hard, even when you have to do the hard things. Um, I just think that people deserve honesty and transparency. And that's just one thing that I won't compromise on.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
I would say compassion.
Mhm.
Um, Compassion isn't a nice to have; it's critical, right? When you want to accomplish big things, you can't do that without connecting to the people that help you carry out those big things. So just always leading from a position of listening, providing a safe space, encouragement, and really putting yourself in the shoes of the people you're working with that you rely upon to achieve big things. So compassion.
That one's so important today too, because there's a lot of things happening that are going around, that really are affecting people. And that's really a really important one, I think.
Well,
Thank you.
mine is the same as Betsy's, and it's integrity. I score sky high and off the charts on the altruistic scale for like a disc test. So I lead with my values and I don't bend them for convenience or approval. And I don't think you can lead people well if you're not first honest with yourself and others. And I see some people take that path of least resistance, and they can easily shift their beliefs and values based on what others may think or what may be too hard. But this is where I believe strong leadership is important, and you need to have a strong core and value system.
Oh, beautiful. I think, that is so true. And you see it in so many leaders today that they have to bend when they don't, that when they don't have that core, like you were saying, and you're seeing that dissipate, right? And that's when things start to fall apart. One of the things that I think that I see is today you're filling positions that are in many ways, you know, with leaders that have strong legacies that you have, that you're coming into to your very own space, but also, where you've had, in your case, Betsy, you have Ebby Holiday, right? And then you, you had Chris Kelly and Carolyn Rawson, and now you're in the lead, and obviously you're a phenomenal leader. But how have you been able to embrace the opportunity to lead in your own way while honoring those who came before you? And how do you stay focused on your own unique vision and your own strengths and making sure that you're authentic while carving your own path? Because that can be difficult. I would think when others are comparing you to, well, that's not how Chris used to do it, or that's not how, like I would think that would be so hard.
Well, I think that with everybody, Ebby, I unfortunately didn't have the opportunity to know Ebby or meet her, but I've had the fortunate opportunity to work with people that really did know her very, very well. So I've heard lots and lots of great stories. But I will say this, I think every leader, Ebby built this company based on service and heart. And every leader that's been in the seat that I sit in now has really built on that foundation. And so we all have, we like to say we're Abby's, found pillars, our service to the client, service to the community, and service to the industry. And so really taking all of the great things about each leader and taking that and putting my spin on it. But it's always the same. All leaders that have come through this company, it's service and heart. And that's what we focus on. And so just, staying curious, asking questions, always being out in the field, being with our agents, understanding what the needs are. But that's kind of how I'm taking all of the great things that Ebby and Chris and Carolyn built, and then just continuing to press forward and ask the questions in the field and our employees so that then we can continue to improve upon and keep building.
Well, I always say that the leaders that are chosen because they have the same qualities that are exuded within that fabric, right, of that family. And so it's because you're unique and you bring out whatever was missing within that piece that brings that beauty of that continuum within that company. I think that really does, reflect the culture, the values of the company. And I see that in you, Betsy. I see that you are a continuum of that company. You just bring that strength and beauty of what Ebba Holiday exudes.
Well,
I see that, yeah.
I like to say, legacy and innovation can and should go hand in hand. And so, honoring the legacy, but also honoring innovation in today's world. And so combining those, and that's where the strength lies.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Gina, you're in a similar situation. You are in a marketplace that is also difficult because you are actually competing in a place where your leader, a previous leader, also exists, but you are also a very dynamic leader in your own. So, how do you also fulfill that role of being able to fill the shoes and also be your unique self?
Thank you, Teresa. But, I was really fortunate to be given the job that I have today by her. And she was the first woman in senior leadership that I had met and worked with that really embraced her feminine side while being vulnerable and strong at the same time. And she shared her desire to learn and grow personally through her messaging. And when she left, I felt a responsibility to carry her legacy forward. But I know that I need to do things differently and also fill in the gaps and honor her. So I started a weekly email for my agents called Thursday Thoughts. And in it, I have focused on real estate insights coupled with stories of resilience, lessons that I've learned, and sparks of inspiration. And I'm hoping it will be a weekly boost to stay connected with my team in Orange County and stay grounded through change.
I love that. I love that. I know that one of the things too that you all do so well in Orange County and in your company because you do have such a great um, connectivity with your diversity and your impact council. And so I know that I'm going to be traveling in September. I know the dates we're working around to your area to do another beautiful event. And I think that has something that you've been involved with in the past, the your group has been involved with in the past that continues to harness the beauty of your company, the beauty of the agents within your company, and the beauty of your group that continues to kind of foster that inclusivity. So, Gina, again, you're with your leadership and with the work that you're doing, I think it's going to pave a way to continue some strong fostering of those individuals that are within your company. One thing that, how about you, Tally? Anything that you feel, because I know you're also dealing with a lot of change. You're dealing with, the legal side kind of all coming together under a shared service. How's that worked? How's that handling? How are y'all coming together? And how are you able to continue to, pave a way for continued success?
I appreciate that because you're right. I'm not really succeeding somebody, right? I don't have a predecessor that's helped mold expectations or laid a path for me to follow. So it's really just been about leading the way I think I should lead, right? Authentically, with the willingness to learn, build relationships, and it's really a blank canvas for what it can be. So I've been fortunate in that regard. So yeah, it's about listening and continual improvement.
And she's really good.
Oh.
She's a joy to work with. She's really good.
Well,
I have
I
to say.
appreciate you saying that because, and not to get too far off track here. Our success is really a reflection of how much other people have poured into me in this position with positive feedback and encouragement. So I appreciate you saying that, Betsy, because I feel like it's that kind of feedback we share on a regular basis that is creating this path forward.
So, Tally, your area of coverage, do you cover certain parts of the country?
No, it's coast to coast, so it's centralized and standardized services, not just for our real estate brokerages, but for all our operating companies across the board.
I love that. I love that. So one of the things that we look and in senior leadership is kind of really how do we elevate other women within our own organization? Because I think it's really important that we pave that way for others. So how are you able to kind of intentionally support other women? Because I think that's really important as we look at our companies, and we all know that in real estate, the majority of agents, right, are women. And so one of the things that we have seen time and time again that there is a lack of women in senior roles, in leadership roles, right? And so what are you doing within your companies? And I know that at our corporate level, we are reestablishing our leadership academy because we know that I think Betsy, did you go through the leadership academy at one? So I
I
know some of our leaders did, at which you can see a true impact. I know I did. of those that are now in CEO roles or leadership roles because they did go through that academy. So what are you doing, or what mentorship programs are you able to, harness within your companies that help kind of foster more of, of training within your organizations? And, Gina, if you want to kind of
Sure.
talk about that.
Just holding back on what you just said, even though, we have over 60% of realtors are women, and we only see 28% of women in C-suite positions. But I was very lucky that I came into an organization that was paved by female leaders, and they sent the elevator back down. And so I I I didn't see leadership roles reflective of that in the other brokerages. So, I came into seeing and working with a little more equity in female leadership here. So, but I'm very intentional about recognizing and elevating women, especially in my generation. And we talked about this earlier with Talia and you, Teresa, is that, where we were often taught that there was only room for, one woman at the top. So that mindset has to go. We need to shift. We need to elevate other women and work together, as Talia said with an earlier conversation I had with her, in a sisterhood.
I think that's so important. It really is. And Tally, I know you and I, we had that conversation about the fact that you feel a little difference, right? You feel like you have had the opportunity to be led, and that you have mentors and you've seen that even grow. You're in a different generation that we're in. Tell me how has that affected your leadership, and how has that grown opportunities for you?
Yeah, I think well, one place I want to start with that conversation is mentorship, right? Which is the advocating, piece of it, and teaching piece, and sponsorship. Excuse me. Mentorship is the teaching, leading, follow my path style. Sponsorship is that advocating for the person when they're not in the room. Um, Mentorship and sponsorship doesn't always have to come from leadership. It doesn't have to be somebody in a C-suite. It can be a peer of yours, and that's really where I've learned the most is from my colleagues, my teammates, my direct reports. We educate each other. It's in the interest of bringing everybody up and improving. So I think that's a big difference, right? People used to be a little more guarded, like I worked so hard to get this knowledge, I'm not going to share it. We call that gatekeeping. We're trying to stigmatize gatekeeping and say, here's the lessons I learned, or here's how I worded this in this document. And we're really trying to lift each other up. To Gina's point, it's really a sisterhood. So, if you don't feel like you're getting mentorship or sponsorship from people above you, reach out to those that are shoulder to shoulder with you and do the same for them. Because it's really been how I've been able to grow the fastest.
Ah, such an important message, right? That you are really able to kind of use those individuals that are with you, right? That are kind of colleagues that can help you also become more knowledgeable and help you rise as well. How about you, Betsy?
I think a lot of the same that we've talked about, but really being intentional about creating space for women to lead, to be at the table. I believe in, really stretching people with opportunities that they might not think they're ready for, because that's what happened with me. I mean, as an agent, I never thought that I would be in a leadership position within the industry. And somebody tapped into me and thought that, I would be a great leader. And so, really, identifying women. And I'm fortunate because I do come from a very long-standing, organization that's been led by women, with Chris sprinkled in there. But we are, and I want to share, and I know she wouldn't mind, but when we brought in our in-house counsel, she said it was a career moment for her because it was the first time she had ever been in an interview in a room full of women. And she was, that was a career highlight for her, is what she said. So, you know, identifying, creating opportunities, and stretching people to do things that they might not think they're ready for.
And I think that is such a beautiful thing. It's so important that you came from a company and you too, where it was a lot of women already in that space. So it was easy for you to say, wow, this is a easy step, right, for me, because I see it. And so it wasn't impossible for you to imagine yourself in that space. I also think one thing that I've learned through my career passage is that sometimes people will tell you, hey, you might want to do this if you want to get to this next, because you're lacking this, and not to take that in a negative way, right? Because sometimes we take that as a, oh, badly versus no, they're trying to help you versus a critique, right? A criticism. So, you might learn accounting, or you might want to learn this space because that's where you might need some support, because that's going to be important in what if you're wanting to be a leader, right? So I think sometimes we have to look inside ourselves and what someone else might be recommending, not in a negative way, so that you can move forward into the leadership space if that's something you really want to pursue. And then the next thing that I think we also need to think about is also if you can't find it within our organization, because sometimes there is nowhere for you to move up, because it may be where, hey, it's hard for you to find an opportunity there because these people may not be ready to retire, to look at volunteer opportunities outside of your organization where you could perhaps get leadership skills. There are. And then that way you can come back and say, now I've developed those skills where I can actually come climb up the ladder, right? There are so many things that you can actually do to develop those skill sets if you are really wanting to do that. And I love your comment, Tally, about sponsors versus mentors, because there are two differences, right? A sponsor will actually talk about you, right? Will help you to get to that next level. And I think that's a big, big, big difference. One of the things that is happening today, and you're seeing it, is the challenges that we're facing in our market, right? There are challenges in inventory. That has not changed. There are affordability concerns in every market that we are dealing with. There's also the shifting client expectations. There's interest rates. So how are you able to help your teams navigate through these challenges, keep them motivated, keep them up? And we know that there are certain agents that have that positive momentum no matter what's happening, but then there are certain agents that you need to kind of pump or help them go through it. So how are you able to, continue to keep everyone positive so that they can actually guide through these challenging times? Um, Gina, I'll start with you.
Well, I focus on giving my agents tools and education and the right messaging to stay confident in their value and to help their clients navigate the fear. And clarity and calm are our best assets right now, because our biggest challenges that we see are in today's market is market uncertainty. And there are concerns over tariffs and loss of stock portfolios. And of course, we have affordability issues here in California. Our clients are anxious, our agents are feeling it too. But in California, the affordability problem is a big conversation because only 17% of residents can even afford a median priced home in California. And in Orange County, it's even more significant because our median priced home in Orange County is $1,450,000. And so that would take a combined household salary of over $370,000 a year to even afford to buy that home. And 45% of our home, our residents here are leasing their properties. They're renters. So
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, and added to that is the fact that you also had the California fires
we did.
affect your area too. I'm sure that inventory has also been, the supply has also been affected by that, I would imagine. So, wow. So you've got a little bit of a little bit of a concerns there in your marketplace.
Yes, we
Wow.
do.
How about you, Betsy?
I would say right now, well, first of all, I think being present and in the field and talking with the agents and understanding what their challenges are. Right now, the big challenge is the disconnect between the buyer expectation and the seller pricing, which I'm hearing, I'm sure it's across the industry. Um, but really equipping them, similar to what Gina said, with the knowledge is key, right? If they have the right facts and data and messaging to deliver to their client, to create that different, perspective. We were talking about the mortgage rates and how those are, where they are. And really, instead of focusing on the rate, really focusing on the monthly payment. So how do you, change the conversation, so that it's not so scary, but it's true facts and data, and really helping coach them in the communication efforts, um, is key for us. Education.
Well, coming up with solutions too, and I know our partners with our lending with Prosperity coming up with, hey, how can we work this through? And are there assumable loans? I mean, you're just anything that will help us be able to get that message out to the clients and training them better and training them with solutions. And I know that one of the things that we're seeing, and Tally, I know you are able to kind of maybe help me in this area too, is that we're seeing a lot of also new technology, new platforms. Obviously, AI is becoming one of those things where you're hearing that part of every business, no matter what you're in, whether it's, I was on the flight the other day and I was looking at all these movies that are talking about, game changing, the way you even date, right? So, what's one tool, one platform or app, AI or otherwise, right, that has been a game changer that might help with what's happening right today, right? That you are recommending, that you're hearing your agents are using, that are good in the legal side, right? Tally, that you say, hey, wow, this is something that we're seeing that's really helping in this side, or helping with, with work, whatever, that's going to be a great tool that somebody can use. And I'll start with you, Betsy.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I would say just, Chat GPT. If you haven't listened to Rajiv Sajja's podcast, you really should, because that's the first thing. Our agents are utilizing it in so many different ways to help on the back end, um, to assist with their transactions and, uh, romance for their property brochures and that type of thing. But as far as company wise, that we've rolled out this year is our automated marketing package, which automatically links, just listed, just sold, and spits out the collateral that they need, whether it's social media, property brochures, all the marketing collateral, is automatically comes into your inbox, and it just makes it easier. So I would say those two things, we really are, AMP for this year, which we call AMP, automated marketing package. And then just utilizing Chat GPT.
And it takes the time, which is what it's done, right?
Mhm.
It's not taken our agents' capabilities. It's just taking time of what normally someone, has, taken hours to do to really help their clients and spend more time with that work versus, spending the time on that marketing, skill set that they don't need to be spending time with. I think that's really wonderful. Gina, how about you?
Well, AI is technology magic. And there are so many cool platforms out there. You can just go crazy and down a rabbit hole finding and playing around with them, but we all need to embrace all of it. And Chat GPT is being widely used by my agents, and it helps them with all kinds of things, writing property descriptions and video scripts, and so many other things they can use it for. It's helping them to work smarter and more efficiently, sorry. But AI is like a sports car, and anyone can own one, but not everyone knows how to drive it well. So it's about how you use it. And so agents need to be very good adapters to stay in the race.
Love it. Tally.
Yeah, my take on AI is exactly what Gina and Betsy said. It is it's the next thing, and I'm not going to endorse one platform over the other, but I'm going to double down on what Gina just said there. It's about learning how to use it effectively and responsibly, and that's going to be in and of itself the skills that will set people apart. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. Roll up your sleeves, get familiar with it, learn how to interact with it in a way that's productive. And what you do with that information next, right? Having the information is one thing, taking action on what it tells you or helps you with is another. So use it as a tool, get comfortable with it, don't be afraid of it. And yeah, enjoy it responsibly is my legal disclaimer.
Says the
It
lawyer.
is, right? You
I
have to
know.
be. It really is changing the way we are able to gather data and information, and it's making it so much easier and relevant to be able to kind of process and predict information, which is kind of scary. I mean, that's the part that's kind of scary. And again, Rajiv is going to be, he does do a great job in helping kind of dispel some of the myths around it and how explain some of the great advantages of using the tools and making sure that you're using it in a way that's responsible, which I think is really important. But it does allow you to really save a lot of time when using it right. You do have to make sure you also check the data because I do use it pretty regularly, and you do have to make sure that okay, wait, this is not I fact check things, to make sure. And I use Copilot, I use Gemini, I use, Chat, I use all the resources that are available based on the different resources or platform that there are. All right. So one of the things that I always talk about is how visibility is such an important part of who we are and what we do. I was just attending several conferences for the work that I do. I'm very involved with the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, this Asian Real Estate Association of America. We just came from the LGBTQ plus Real Estate Alliance conference, VA RAP. They're all having their policy events, NAR just held theirs in Washington, D.C. I know that there are big conferences that kind of hold, events that are, recognize for their value when it comes to, being seen, whether it's bringing a content on the tech side or also kind of providing information when it comes to other leaders and what other companies are doing, or really kind of recruiting tools for us to be able to use. So, what is the must attend for knowledge tools or networking opportunities that you need to go to that you think is really important for other leaders or for other agents? If you were going to be at one conference or, two, which ones would you say are really critical? And Gina, I'll start with you.
Well, I'm super excited to hear that convention is back on track and it's going to be in Nashville next year.
And that's for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services.
Yes, so that's going to be very exciting for our agents because they do so much referral business by attending convention. But for me personally, I'm very involved on the local level here in Orange County. With the association that I'm involved with is one of the largest in the country, as well on the state level, and I'm on the board of directors for CAR, where I had the absolute pleasure of hearing you speak, Teresa, last month and present at our legislative meetings in Sacramento for fair housing. And so with all of the changes in our industry, it's very important to be part of that collective voice to advocate for our industry and for homeowners.
Beautiful. And I think that is so critical and important today to really kind of be involved both on the local level and the national level to kind of get exposure on what's happening because what happens locally kind of is a domino effect across the country in the local laws that affect our housing. And so, really, really important. Betsy, how about you?
Well, obviously, I mean, the associations, the, NAR and our Texas Realtors have really, great information. As far as agents are concerned, we also we're members of leading real estate companies in the world. And so we really do have a high amount of agents that attend that conference. As far as leaders are concerned, in my seat, there are a few. So it's hard to say, okay, one, because I go to those things and I soak it up because kind of what you had said, Teresa, listening to other broker owners, hearing what how they're doing things and from different parts of the country. So T3 and Housing Wire, Gathering of Eagles, those are great opportunities to hear from the best in the business and really have great takeaways.
That's great. Now, I've not been to T3, so great to know because that's one I'd love to go to. So,
Yeah.
yeah, great content, great information. Tally, how about for your area? Like, what would you say is a great conference that you should be or not miss?
Well, for me, it's different, right? Because what I'm most focused on is providing services to all the companies and the brokerages. So I don't attend many national large scale conferences. Where I do find a lot of value is attending local leadership meetings, going to their events, their award ceremonies, because it really helps me slip into their shoes, hear what's important to them, what their needs are, and then I tailor, all the legal stuff to fit their day-to-day needs. If I'm doing it right, I'm not telling folks too much, what they should be doing. I'm listening and then adapting to fit into their needs. I'm really in a support role. So
Tally,
I do attend those conferences. I just attend theirs.
I think that's the most important piece of information that you could have shared because a lot of times when we look at our local events from our companies, sometimes they don't always remember to invite those key people within our companies that they touch because they think, oh, I don't know that they would attend this event. But those are the people that really need to come because that's when you get to know the agents a little. I always welcome the opportunity, like when I was invited to CAR, because I got to see the California Association of Realtors, our agents. I got to see Gina, I got to see Wayne, I got to see our people that are involved in these organizations to understand what really matters to them, what's important, and you really get that one-on-one and get to actually interact with what's important. So I think that's so critical because those small conferences, those small company events is really where you get to meet the agents in person. You get to talk to them. They get to see you. They get to hear what you do. They get to know you a little better. And then when they have a need, they're able to pick up the phone and call you directly. And they get to know, hey, there's someone that can help me when I have something that I need to reach out to. So I think perfect answer. As we wrap up, we're almost done. I always love to know from each and every one of you what is one, book, a quote, a podcast, a mantra that speaks to your leadership style or that you would recommend to other aspiring women or leaders that you think would be amazing share. And I'll start with you, Tally.
I love this question because I've mentioned this a few times. I'm always trying to learn, right? Learn, leap. The two podcasts that I wanted to share. First one is Women at Work by Harvard Business Review. It is great practical knowledge, hands-on application stuff. Can't recommend that one enough. So Women at Work. The other one is Good Hang by Amy Poehler. And there is no advice, there is no self-improvement involved. It is really about having fun, connecting to joy, and being lighthearted. Because my favorite leaders are not just great at work; they're a great hang. They're fun to be with. So those are the two I like the most.
That sounds like a fun one. Amy Poehler, anytime. Love it. Betsy?
I need to do more fun podcasts. I'm always, my podcasts are, I always am tuning into Ninja Selling or Brian Buffini or Mike Del Preti. But I would say that kind of, what we talked a little bit about before, but really in that leadership capacity, my leadership style is making sure, it's not, leadership isn't about authority or a title. It's about influencing and, inspiring people and really making sure we stay focused in those areas are important to me. And so a lot of what Simon Sinek, he's one of my favorites. And John Maxwell, they embrace and embody that type of leadership direction. And that's what I really focus my efforts on.
Love Simon Sinek. He is
Uh,
my favorite too. I knew you're Mississippi. That connection, Simon Sinek for sure. Thank you, Betsy. And Gina, I'll end with you.
Well, I love to learn like the rest of you amazing ladies. And I'm a big avid reader. I love podcasts. I love audiobooks. And, reading the right book at the right time is a very powerful thing. And I can't say I have one favorite, but there are many. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz is foundational for me. I also subscribe to a daily email from the Daily Stoic, which is brilliant. And I just finished reading The Obstacle is the Way. And both of those are by Ryan Holiday. He's a brilliant and inspirational author. Um, um, and my favorite quote is you will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks, and that's by Winston Churchill.
Oh, I like that. I have not heard that one. That's great. Oh, thank you, Gina, for sharing that one. That's a new one. I appreciate that. Thank you again, all of you. This has been a great episode, and I really, really appreciate all of you taking your time to participate in this unforgettable Women Who Lead. I really want to thank you for, all that you are doing to make your transition into being such bold and thoughtful and rooted leaders. And I really want to let you know how you inspired me, and I'm sure that you've inspired so many of our audiences. I want to thank all of our audience leaders for being here today and for watching the show. And I want to encourage you to follow us on our Women Who Lead series. You can find it on Facebook and YouTube. I also want to recommend one book just because it is just out and it's one that we just launched, and I would be remiss if I didn't let you know I actually wrote a chapter in it, and it's AI to AI Gent. It is the latest release by Alan Dalton, and it is a book that is just out. It is actually a workbook that he just released. Amazing. It has got Rajiv Sajja. It has a book article in it. Has a lot, just so many. Dan Golden wrote a chapter in it. It's got so many people that have written chapters in it. I am honored to be one among many who have written chapters on this latest book series that he's done. It's kind of workbook flow. It's got a lot of great content on AI. So again, I just wanted to give a shout out to that book because it just came out, and I would be remiss if I didn't do that. I really want to also thank everyone for joining us, and make sure you mark your calendars because we've got another powerful conversation ahead. We're going to be joining, we got realtor.com, Angie Javier, who's going to join us on June 25th. She's going to be our guest on Diversity Matters, and she's going to be talking about all the work that Realtor.com is going to be doing on helping in every aspect from webinars to all that they do to help agents become better realtors. And then don't miss our next episode on Women Who Lead. It's going to be here on July 9th. And there we're going to have a lot of great women also that are shaping the future with compassion and courage and conviction. And I'm going to leave you with this beautiful quote that captured the spirit of today's conversation. I'm not afraid of storms, for I'm learning how to sail my own ship. I love that. That's by Louisa May Alcott, a perfect metaphor for leading through change. Until next time, keep rising, keep leading, and stay bold. So, hope you all have a great summer so far. See you next month. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for Women Who Lead. Bye bye.